All right, so how's it going, YouTube? So this is the driving aspect of the video. So as we go ahead and take off in the Porsche, I just wanted to kind of discuss, I know some people, and me particularly, I'm very particular about clutch feel in these cars. And I recently drove a C7 Corvette, and I know it's weird to describe them, but in the clutch in that car, I feel like I was playing a video game. The clutch had no feel. Maybe that's, you know, something you just have to get used to. But in this car, the clutch feels great. You know, it's not a hard clutch to learn on. It's actually, I actually taught my friend how to drive this car, how to drive a stick shift on this car. And it was pretty easy. And I mean, you know, it's easy to drive and it's not overbearing. It's not, you know, it's not, I didn't modify the clutch or anything. It's, the whole drivetrain is pretty much stock, aside from a Canon air filter, which, you know, whatever. But getting into the driving aspect of this car, it's a sports car, so you know it's not going to be the most comfortable ride. Definitely when I got into this, I was like, oh man, I kind of missed the S-Class now, because that was like a boat. It just, you know, it floated over any bump, anything on the road. This thing, every bump you feel it goes doo, doo, doo. So, you know, and I'm not beating on the car or anything. It's a sports car. That's how it's supposed to feel. So knowing, you should kind of know that going into buying one of these cars. You know, you kind of should already know that it's going to be a rough riding car because it is a sports car. But I'm just giving everybody a heads up. If you should drive this before buying it, because I kind of made the impulse decision of buying the car. I had never driven a Boxster before, but excuse me, I had never driven a Boxster, and I got into this and I was kind of, you know, like I described in the walk around, if you're a tall person, this might be an uncomfortable car for you. So for me, it's all right. It's good now. I don't mind the car at all anymore. But going from the Mercedes into this, it was a kind of shock factor, because, you know, my leg hits the steering wheel ever so often once I shift. The seat only goes back so much. This is the furthest it goes back. You can't put the seat back anymore. So if you're a taller person, you're going to have some trouble in the car. Thankfully, I don't have any problem with headroom. I mean, you know, I'm fine with the headroom. My head doesn't hit the roof or anything. So, and one way you could solve that is you kind of just, oh, there's some glare. You pretty much just, you put the roof down. And I tried filming this with the roof down, but it was too windy, so, you know, sorry about that. You could still, when we accelerate, I'll put the windows on so you can still hear it well. But that's the thing. I tried doing this video with the roof down, and there was just too much wind. It just didn't work. So take my word for it. So going into this kind of roundabout here, I had previously driven one mid-engine car, and that's, you know, my friend's, it's on the channel, my friend's MR2, and I kind of drove that like you know, a block, because it wasn't registered, so we didn't really drive it. But this car has taught me so much about driving and respecting the car. Now, let me explain what I mean by that, because it does sound a little bit weird. So this car, when I first got into it, I started driving and whatnot, accelerating, and it feels great. You know, 270 horsepower from the flat six doesn't sound like a lot, but you got to remember this car weighs like 2,600 pounds. So it's light and it's quick. It's quick because it's light. So when I got into it and I, you know, started going through the gears and flooring it, I was like, man, this car feels quick. I wasn't expecting it to be that quick because it only has 270 horsepower. But then I took it with my friend, the same guy with the MR2. We took his Subaru and I took this. We went out into these canyon roads. This thing is an absolute dream to drive on those roads. You feel like you're on rails, especially with those 265s in the back. The regular Boxster, I believe, has 235s or 245s, but these tires, I was what, second or third gear, full throttle into this turn, and the car, I had trouble trying to make the car skid. You have to pull the handbrake for the car to start sliding. It literally just grips, and it's amazing because it teaches you how throttle control works. You know, you don't slam on the brakes when you're kind of driving spiritedly or whatnot. So this car has taught me so much about driving in the past 2 months than any other car that I've owned has ever taught me. And it's amazing. This car is great. I love this car. But it does have its drawbacks. You know, that the Boxster makes some noises that some people might find weird. Like mine sounds like it has an exhaust leak, but that's just the way the motor sounds. It's fuel injected, so it does tick. People think, oh, your motor's going bad. That's how it sounds. And it's not the smoothest engine. It's not like, let's say, a V12, obviously, but that's not the point of this car. The point of this car is you get in it, you drive it, and you experience the mid-engine flat six behind you with the exhaust note, and it sounds amazing. Now, like I said before, mine has the 6-speed manual, which, you know, is, if you're buying a Boxster, get the manual. The 5-speed is a ZF transmission. I believe it's out of it's a Mercedes one. So it's okay, but it's slow, it's clunky. It's not for this car. Just get the manual. Also a 911. If you're buying any Porsche, buy a manual. Unless you're getting a PDK, one of the 2010 up. Those are fantastic transmissions. But anything before that, avoid the autos. They're not, it's not worth it. So, like I said, this car, it doesn't really need a short throw shifter. Sure, there's a kit, and I might do it. I might go back on my word, but for the way it drives now, it drives great. It feels fantastic. It really is a great driving car. Now I understand what the rave is about Porsche. Before, I've always loved Porsche, but now having owned one and driven it and experienced it, I understand why people, you know, say Porsche is one of the best driving cars, because it is. Now, I'm gonna go for a little acceleration here. Downshift a second, and go ahead, full throttle. That whale, that flat six whale is amazing. It is so good. Oh my goodness. If you do anything, experience a flat, naturally aspirated Porsche. It is, oh my goodness, it sounds so good. It is so good, and it drives so well. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Now, the Subaru Boxsters, they sound different because they have their own rumble or whatever to it. This has its own unique sound. This sounds like nothing else. There is no other car that sounds like a flat six Porsche, a naturally aspirated Porsche. And I cannot wait to do that exhaust in this thing. This car is gonna sound amazing. So, would I recommend this car to anybody? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I use this as a daily. So this is my daily driver car. And is it practical? I guess for me, because I'm not married. I don't have kids. It's just me. So it's not like I'm carrying people. I don't carry a lot of luggage either. So it's good. It's great for that. But if you aren't in the same boat as me, I would still recommend this car, but I would use this car as a weekend car, because that's what it's really meant to be. And I ran the Carfax on this car, and it has 2 owners before me. The last owner owned it since 2005, and it's only been maintained at Porsche Beverly Hills. So he truly took care of this car, and you can tell it drives great. The car feels great. It doesn't feel like there's nothing loose on the steering, nothing. It feels great. But you can't say that about every Boxster out there. Now, it being the cheap Porsche that you could buy, a lot of people get their hands on them and they don't take care of them, which sucks. You know, it sucks because then it ruins the car for a lot of people. But if you find a nice clean one, I would highly recommend getting this car. This is an amazing car, and it's an amazing platform to learn how to drive. In fact, I would say that this is probably the best sports car deal for under $10,000. Now, are you gonna get a perfect one? Acceleration. Probably not. You're probably gonna get one with some more miles. You know, it's not gonna be the prettiest thing out there, but it's gonna be a great car. You take care of it, and it'll keep you right. Now, there is one thing that I have been kind of trying to stay away from mentioning, but we're gonna have to talk about it in this video. Anybody that has looked into a 996 911 or a Boxster from 97 all the way from 2000, from 2000 all the way up to, oh, okay. Sorry about that. I'm gonna roundabout. This person didn't even stop. So from 2000 to about 2007, every naturally aspirated Porsche, aside from the Cayenne V8s, they have this thing called the IMS, the intermediate shaft bearing. If not done, or if not replaced, it gives no sign, it gives no warning, it grenades the motor. It kind of keeps the motor in sync. It holds the timing on the motor, and once it goes, pistons start hitting cylinder heads and the motor's grenaded, it's gone. This car, I believe it's been done because of the records I looked up. It had a major service done at 50,000 miles, so I believe that's what had been done on the car. But I'm still, you know, I'm waiting. I'm gonna take the car in for service at Porsche, and I'm gonna ask them if they could pull a record in and tell me if it needs an IMS, and if it does, then I'm gonna do it, because, you know, it's just peace of mind. So they do sell a kit. The reason the IMS goes bad is because Porsche put the bearing in there, and they lubed it once. That was when it was new in the factory, and that's it. They just put some grease in there and said, that's it. There's no oil that goes in there to lube it, nothing. So once the bearing goes bad, grenades the motor. Now, there is an aftermarket solution. Somebody has come up with an aftermarket solution that it creates a sort of oil pickup line that goes from your oil pan to the bearing, so it lubes the bearing constantly. So that solves it. It's about $2,000 for the kit, and it's, in my opinion, a well worth investment. Now, am I too worried about that? Not really, because if I was worried about that, I wouldn't drive my car. And the last thing I want to do is not drive this. This is one of the, like I said, this is the best car I've ever owned. It is a fantastic driving car. I love it. It's amazing. If you, like I said, if you do one thing, drive a naturally aspirated Porsche with a manual. You will not regret it. I assure you. It is like nothing else. The noise it makes, the way it drives, the way it handles, it's out of this world. So I guess the last thing we can end on this video is, should you buy it? Well, absolutely. Oh my goodness, this car is fantastic. Do your research before you go into this. Do your research. Don't just buy it like I did from the auction without really knowing much about them. I got lucky that this is a good car and it's been taken care of, but you know, not every car is gonna be like that. I want to thank you guys all so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about the Boxster? Is it really the poor man's Porsche, or is it a gem that, if you know what you're looking for, you can pick up a fantastic Porsche, excuse me, for less than $10,000 with a manual and a 3.2 liter flat six that makes that noise. So thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead and let me know in the comments what you think of the car. Have you ever driven one? Have you owned one? And if you like the content, go ahead and subscribe. I know I haven't been posting a lot recently. All this Corona stuff, it's kind of hard to let you film a car because, you know, social distancing and whatnot. So go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to try to bring some more cars like this into the future. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.